What's y'all? Today we react to a video of to meet the tallest NBA player ever, Mantue. Let's go ahead and get to the video.
This is Mantue, one of Africa's greatest prodigies and the tallest player the NBA has ever seen. Standing at 7'7", I honestly don't think you guys can fathom how tall this man looks in person. You could take The Rock, add a foot, and Mantue would still be taller. But just looking at this guy got me thinking, is it even a good thing to be this tall? And on top of that, the main thing I'm wondering is, how the hell did this guy make it from Africa to the NBA? Well, coming from Sudan, Africa, there aren't many opportunities to make a living. It's not like there's a Taco Bell down the street where Mantue can work the drive-thru. The only option Mantue had...
Mantue set a record for like most blocks or something. I forgot what it was.
Was joining their military, so that's what he did. While he was stationed, they had a basketball court nearby, and this was the first time in his life that he had a convenient court. The closest court he had growing up was 50 miles away from his village. Mantue would literally walk for days whenever he wanted to go play. Man, I get winded walking in the mall. I don't know how this guy did it. Luckily for Mantue, a lot of countries have some type of national basketball league that competes against other countries. And as for Sudan, that team was in their military. So when this 7'7" dude walked in, they saw him and just handed him a basketball. This was Mantue's big opportunity. Traveling around Africa with an AK strapped to his back, Mantue was out there repping Sudan's national basketball team. And while he was dunking on some 5-foot German dudes, there was an American coach on the sidelines taking it all in. Don Feely. Now, Don had recently gotten fired from his job as a college head coach, and he heard about this spot out in Africa that apparently had the tallest people in the entire world. And when he laid eyes on the near 8-foot giant, Mantue, it was love at first sight. At this point in time, Mantue couldn't speak English. Read English? Hell, he didn't even know how old he was. So I have no idea how Don managed to communicate with Mantue in the first place. But he convinced him that just on height alone, Mantue could easily make it into the NBA. And with that, Mantue took a flight out to Cleveland, Ohio. Now that Mantue's managed to make it across the world, it's time for the real challenges to begin. Now, he's got to make it to the NBA. The transition wasn't as easy as Don made it out to be. Our boy Mantue ended up running into all sorts of issues throughout the next few.
I'm just amazed Yule hasn't tried one butterfly.
Few years, like his passport saying he was 5'2". Yeah, that actually happened. When this 7'7" dude was getting his passport set up, they measured his height while he was sitting down. Look, I'm not the passport police, but someone needs to be fired for that. On top of that, our boy Mantue ended up making it to America too late to go straight to the NBA, so he was forced to play a year of college ball. This might have been a blessing in disguise, though, as he was able to take an English program for foreign students, so he could actually talk to his coaches and teammates. And Mantue was able to prove his worth here. He took an irrelevant college team you've never heard of, the Purple Knights, from having a couple hundred people watch their games to having their gym sold out, with thousands piling inside to see what this 7'7" spider could do. Ultimately, Don was right. After 3 years of dealing with all these random BS problems, Mantue did it, coming into the league in 1985, setting a record as the tallest player in the history of the NBA. It was time for Mantue to prove just how good he was at basketball. As a starting center for the Washington Bullets, our boy Mantue went on to break even more records, averaging a ridiculous 5 blocks a game his rookie season.
I told you.
I know this guy's 7'7", but 5 blocks a game. You think he's still playing against some 5-foot German dudes in the military? Not legit NBA stars. But other than his unbelievable blocking ability and height, Mantue didn't have much else going for him. I mean, our man weighed less than a Great Dane, literally. At 180 pounds, our boy Mantue couldn't even bench a 45-pound bar. Come on, man. My little sister could bench that. So Mantue was hit with a new challenge. Put on some weight or get traded from his team. Imagine this 8-foot blocking giant. Now imagine him at 250 pounds. because that's what the Bullets were imagining. They tried everything they could to help this dude put on weight. They literally told him to start drinking beer. So Mantue started downing Heinekens left and right. And from that point, our man never played another NBA game sober. Legend has it Mantue would walk around the locker room butt naked drinking Heinekens all day long. Never gained a pound, but hey, at least he was happy. But even though he was happy, the Bullets still wanted him to put on some weight. And after 3 years of not even gaining an ounce, they traded him off to the Golden State Warriors. At this point, we're in 1988. Bull is living the American dream. He's still in the NBA, drinking Heinekens all night, sleeping in every day. You're probably thinking, he's made it. Until one morning, Mantue was woken up by a phone call. A phone call that would change his life and the world forever. Mantue was about to embark on a journey that would make the NBA look easy. Look, if there's one thing you need to know about Mantue Bol, is that you don't mess with his beauty sleep. Mantue was furious someone was calling him before noon, and when he answered the phone, he let the guy have it. But the guy on the phone wasn't a fan, a manager, a coach, wasn't even his mom. Instead, it was a guy speaking a language Mantue hadn't heard in years. Dinka. You see, Mantue came from a tribe out in Africa known as the Dinkas, and the caller was a Dinka native
His mama was like 6'2".
himself, representing a militia that had just formed back in Manute's home country, Sudan. He reminded Mantue that while he's living the American dream, drinking Heinekens butt naked, there are brutal atrocities happening back home. Although Mantue was enjoying his time in America, he didn't forget how merciless it was growing up. According to Bol himself, at least 250 of his own family members had either been killed, sold into slavery, or starved to death. I couldn't make Manute's past sound more horrible if I tried. Sudan was full of corrupt leaders, watching their citizens die every day, and they would keep letting it happen as long as it meant they could get a little bit more money and power. This phone call changed everything for Mantue. Saving Sudan became his life purpose. The only question now is, could he actually do it? With a bank account worth $4 million, Mantue donated $3.5 million to start funding his own militia. To the public, Mantue was known as the tallest player in NBA history, but in private, he was a war general. He'd finish up an NBA game at 8:30, and by 10 he would be in a basement, instructing his militia thousands of miles away from the slaughter, and he did this for years. Eventually, Mantue teamed up with John Garang, a man known throughout all of Sudan as a revolutionary leader, and together, they take on Sudan's government. In one off-season, Mantue flew out to Sudan to meet up with John and see how his investments were doing. The public thought that the $3.5 million was feeding a lot of hungry kids, but in reality, Mantue was getting his militia strapped up. And at this point, Bol became a rebel first and a basketball player second. Deciding to leave the game of basketball entirely in 1997, Mantue moved to the capital of Sudan and started directing his militia from the field. This created the most dangerous chapter of Manute's life. Keep in mind, when you're trying to overthrow a government, they're usually not going to be too happy about it. And Sudan's government wanted Manute's head. He put himself in a position where he had a newborn son, an entire army depending on him, no more money coming in, and he was the biggest target in all of Sudan. At this point, Mantue literally couldn't leave his house without at least 4 bodyguards around him at all times. Ultimately, Sudan's government knew they couldn't touch Mantue. He was too much of a celebrity, but what they could do is extort him. They decided to hold his exit visa, meaning he couldn't leave the country unless he stopped funding his own militia and started pouring that money into their government. Trapped in Sudan, Mantue lived life with a target on his back for the next few years.
I wonder what he was like in real life if you actually met him. I know he was tall, but I wonder how he talked and all that.
Eventually, he started working with U.S. senators to try and find a way out. And as they were making progress, 9/11 happened, creating a whole other obstacle that Mantue had to get through. It wouldn't be until 2002 that Mantue was finally free from Sudan and on his way back to America as a religiously protected refugee. But Mantue wasn't coming back to a lavish NBA lifestyle. Instead, he was now pretty much homeless. While being held hostage in Sudan, Mantue dumped all of his money into his militia, even selling off every house he ever owned. Trying to make some more money off his ridiculous height, Mantue settled for some pretty humiliating jobs, swallowing his pride, doing everything on TV from ice skating to boxing a 400-pound NFL player. For a couple of years, Mantue was finally making some cash to send back home, and just as things were starting to look up, Mantue was ejected from a taxi. This 7'7" man was thrown through the windshield. When first responders arrived, they found Mantue and the driver laying on the road, unconscious and fighting for their lives. The cab driver, Neville Robinson, went into cardiac arrest and unfortunately didn't survive the crash. Mantue was airlifted to a nearby hospital where he was put on life support. He remained in the ICU for a while, recovering from 2 cracked vertebrae in his neck, along with other internal injuries. Ultimately, Mantue would recover, but he would be left needing a cane for the rest of his life.
That's all we got for today, you guys. Thanks for watching the video. Subscribe, leave a like, and got our next video coming next week. Alright, peace.